Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the July meeting of the Portage City Council. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Councilman Parnell, would you mind leading us in a prayer?
Certainly, sir. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity we have to gather here this evening to take care of the official business of the city. Father, we ask for your guidance of your Holy Spirit, that we'd be sensitive to the leadership of the Spirit, that what we do, Father, would benefit, of course, all the residents of this great city. Father, we thank you for the wonderful privilege we have this week to celebrate our independence. And God, we thank you that you have always blessed America. We ask you to continue to bless America. We ask you, Father, to watch over our soldiers and their families, our police officers, our firefighters, and all of those who are protecting our freedom this very evening. This we pray in the name of Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Liz, could you please take the roll?
Absolutely. Mayor Bonta.
Here.
Member Alvarez.
Here.
Member Weinbach.
Here.
Member Gina Dax-Hurst.
Here.
Councilmember Bob Parnell.
Here.
Councilmember Vasquez.
Here.
Councilmember Ambler.
Here.
Councilmember Zilli.
Here.
Did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Are there any corrections? And if not, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
That felt like a very competitive second. I loved it. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I don't vote. I'm sorry. I keep wanting to vote with you guys. I'm sorry. So we jump into the correspondence from the mayor. Let me just start by reading this proclamation. We have some people here who are, I hope, are excited to have this read. I think so. So, City of Portage, Office of the Mayor, Portage, Indiana, proclamation, to whom these presents may come, greetings. Whereas the Indiana District Exchange Clubs, chartered on July 24th, 1924, will celebrate its 100th anniversary in 2024, and whereas the 17 exchange clubs of the Indiana District exemplify the best traditions of the exchange organization, actively participating in programs of service of the National Exchange Club, making invaluable contributions to the life of the citizens of Indiana, including Portage, and whereas the City of Portage, Indiana, recognizes and acknowledges the selfless contributions of service made by the members of the Indiana District Exchange Clubs, and whereas the citizens of Portage, Indiana, express sincere thanks and appreciation to the members of the 17 Indiana District Exchange Clubs for all of their contributions made in the true spirit of exchange toward the betterment of their communities during these past 100 years, therefore, it is my honor to present this proclamation to the Portage Exchange Club with the best wishes for continued success in their future endeavors. In testimony whereof, I have sign my hand and cause to be affixed the Great Seal of the City of Portage, State of Indiana, this second day of July, 2024. Signed by Clerk Treasurer Liz Modesto and myself, Mayor Austin Bonta. Would you like to come up to receive it?
Thank you.
And also, if you'd like to say a few words, I don't know why that is. And all that said and done, or maybe it was just a very, very busy month of June. So it was tough to go. It's incredible, isn't it? So just to go through to try to highlight some of the things that have happened on our end here at City Hall since the last City Council meeting. I'm kind of going in a scrambled order because I was trying to get connected things together rather than going through a full list. So word got out that the city of Portage invited Lennar Homes to come to address a number of issues that were brought up by residents living in the, the Brookside neighborhood. Our interns here at the city did an amazing job going through all the different complaints, compiling them together into an electronic and a printed out list. I was very excited to have some of the executives come out to go through them all, and they've assured that they're going to be contacting the residents of that neighborhood to get those fixed best they can ahead of an upcoming meeting where we've invited the residents to come to the city, meet with relevant department heads, and also a representative from the company will be there. I can say that they took the situation very seriously, assured that it should not have gotten to the point that we had this many people with so many problems, but I was extremely pleased with the level of attention that they came in, the speed, and their willingness to resolve the issue. So on a little bit more exciting note for that same area, the intersection of Lute and Airport, the Portage Parks won a grant for the National Fitness Campaign to construct an outdoor workout center somewhere in the city. Very exciting to come. The part of the grant that isn't covered, the part that the grant doesn't cover, we're able to use existing park funds through the park impact fee to be able to build this as a new park somewhere. And the site selected, with the approval of the school system, is the southwest corner of Airport and Lute, over by the bus barn. As we work towards making Lute Road better managed with traffic, I should probably get to that part too. We also purchased through the Redevelopment Commission the northwest corner of Lute and Airport, which among other things allows us to finally put the traffic lights there at the corner of Lute and Airport at that four-way stop. So the meme where the guy's waiting forever and ever and ever to make that left turn is going to go away. I'm sorry about that. All said and done, we're making what I think is going to be a really neat area focal point, for the city. Market on the Square. Oh my goodness, has that been exciting for the past couple times. I know a lot of council people have been there, a lot of residents are coming. A lot of work has gone in to increase the number of vendors, including farmers. It was so exciting last time to have one, minus the rain, but it keeps getting better and better that way. And a lot of people in the park, in my office, Leanne Van Kuren, my chief of staff, I'm not sure if she's still here. Oh, I see you. Thank you for everything you do there. And thank you to the parks for their work on that. We met, speaking of parks, in the last month, we had a meeting with the new superintendent of the national park to talk about how we can better coordinate with the city and the national park, in particular when it comes to making the parkland on the north side of our city more accessible. There's a lot that goes into that, but it was really exciting to learn a little bit more about his vision and the vision of the parks. Also, very recently, I was able to sit down with the mayor of Gary, Eddie Melton, and then also the mayor of Michigan City. We met at the Longhorn Steakhouse here in Portage, and we talked about a great number of things, but one thing that we got united on right away is the idea of meeting up with our teams and meeting together with the National Park Service to best really figure out how to come up with a plan embracing that when you think about the national park, you have Gary as the west gate, you've got Michigan City as the east gate, and then Portage, I'm really excited to say, we're the heart of the park. And so having a plan to enhance and promote the national park as three cities that all share a piece of it is really exciting, for us. Let's see. Speaking of land purchases, the Storm Board also moved recently to purchase some land on Lute Road, which contains the old, I guess I shouldn't say old, but the old Swanson barn. That in itself is not necessarily the most exciting part of the purchase unless you're a history buff. Really what it is a great way to have better access to an area where we do a lot of drainage work on the west side of the city. And in time, that also could be a future site for either storage or some operations for the department. We have met with a team of people, including Tom Cherry, our head of the planning department. Our police chief was there, my chief of staff, myself, to go over issues with abandoned or neglected homes throughout Portage. That is a process that I'm hoping to have more about in the next meeting, but we've identified a number of homes that we want to move on. There's kind of a combination approach to how to tackle some of those. Some are being targeted by private investors, and we're like, that's great, but let's show you some other ones. Some, the city is going to have to take more action. I just know that I get asked about this quite a bit, and I just want to make people aware that is something that we are actively working on, is dealing with homes, and particularly before anything else gets worse around there. Let's see. We have a cornhole tournament coming up on September 28th. Now, that might seem very far away, but it's going to be a blink of an eye when it comes to cornhole tournaments. And I'm looking around the room and I'm seeing people smiling, and I know that we're going to have some people signing up for this, and so just stay tuned as we promote it. You're going to see the flyers handed out at the 4th of July. Speaking of the 4th of July, we've got the parade coming up on July 4th. To put it simply, nobody does the 4th of July better than the city of Portage. It's a huge tradition in our community, and I'm just so looking forward to see that, get done and happen again this year. We had our first, at least first for this year. I'm not sure if this has ever been done before. It very well could have been. I'm not trying to take any credit for it. But we had a great meet and greet with our building department, our planning department, and D.R. Horton, one of the builders coming in to build Bauer Farm in the south side of Portage. I know that Bauer Farm has had a very complicated history with the city, but I'm happy to say a lot of the immediate issues that we had have been resolved as far as some things like drainage goes, how we do it. And what I thought was the best part of this meet and greet was being able to have all the contractors, subcontractors, and our departments there together to help guide them through. It's very much an example of we're trying to measure twice, cut once. And I think that it was something that a lot of the people involved with the building appreciated too. We recently had the Fire Academy graduation, of which, where is Chief Crail? He's somewhere here. Oh, there you are. I believe there were 8 graduates, and of the graduates, I believe there were 4 from Portage, and then we added a 5th one a little bit after. Is that right? Yes, sir. So just exciting to see. Chief Crail is still the lead instructor, or lead person at the MAC, and then also Portage firefighter Rick Nikos was given the Instructor of the Year award. He did a great job with that class. I had the honor of getting to speak at the commencement, which was a really cool honor to have, and it was really great to meet them. Some ongoing and upcoming, we are in the budgeting process. I've been meeting with all of the different city departments. Some have met already, some have scheduled meetings, but it's been going pretty well. Ed Graham has been a huge help, so has Leanne Van Kuren, my chief of staff. Leanne, I just keep saying your name. I know you don't like the publicity, but you're just doing amazing. There is, I'm not sure if any of you guys have noticed, but we have some road construction going on in the city. In Indiana, there's 2 things people don't like. They don't like bad roads, and they don't like problems on roads, but they hate the construction to fix the roads. I can assure you that there's no perfect way to go about it, but it's going to be an ongoing thing for us to try to make this summer's construction season as smooth as possible. I know that I've been getting tagged in some things, and it's always enjoyable to follow up with people. We actually had one guy calling us because somebody was speeding down a road that was supposed to be closed, and I was able to call the police right away, just not the 911. I called our police chief, and I told him, it's a turkey shoot over there if you guys just want to come by. And by the time I came and visited with that resident, there was already somebody pulling over on the road. So great work. Very happy to see that. Comprehensive plan. Portage needs to update its comprehensive plan. It's been 15 years since we did it the last time. I'm really excited about that. From a budgeting perspective, how we pay for that is something that we're getting worked on, but I'm very excited about one potential lead coming up this month. We're actually going to be traveling to Notre Dame to meet with representatives from the Notre Dame School of Architecture who actually have a program to help cities do municipal planning, comprehensive planning, if they're within 100 miles of Notre Dame's campus. So I'm very excited to let you guys know how that goes. I think it's probably one of the most intriguing opportunities that I've kind of really become aware of. And one thing we know is that they're very interested in Portage for a number of reasons. Combination of our population and our location in Indiana off the lake, I guess we're intriguing too. So that's pretty cool. On the agenda today, we have the first reading for the stormwater and sanitary rate increase. I know that nobody likes to hear the word increase, but I can tell you if you watched the last meeting, Tracy did an amazing job going through how we got to the spot. It's just a first reading today, so there's no vote, but just making sure that people are aware of that process. We have a proposed change to the bulk pickup policy in the city. I'll have Randy up a little bit later along with Vern to discuss how we're going to make our, our bulk pickup more affordable and hopefully less stressful for our city employees. I think that's right. Is that correct? I sure hope it's less stressful. And then we'll also have a proposal for HR. It is 6 months in, and there have been amazing things happening with our new Human Resources Department, but I'll wait till a later point of the agenda to get to that. So I don't think I've missed anything in the immediate, but I'll jump on to the next part. Clerk Treasurer's report.
I attended the clerk treasurer's school from Monday through Thursday in South Bend. Got a lot of great knowledge out of it. Did a lot of networking with other municipality clerk treasurers, especially Porter counties. and also a lot in Lake County. And a lot of great ideas came out of that meeting. We plan on grouping together as a county clerk treasurers and meeting at least once a month. And we are continuing in my office to work on the budget also. We're updating the estimates, so we'll be presenting them to the mayor, the estimates that we've gotten from the DLGF so far, and along with guidance from the State Board of Accounts. We did receive our first spring draw from the tax draw on June 28th, and we are in the process of making sure all the funds are updated for that. We also sent in our final phase for the CCD, reestablishment of the Cumulative Capital Development Fund. Should be approved probably tomorrow. State Board of Accounts has it in their hands right now. That's about it for the Clerk Treasurer's Office.
Thank you, Liz. So I'm going to go ahead and move up the spot on the agenda for the reports from standing committees. Colin and I talked about it before this meeting, and it just seems like a better idea, especially if the standing committees include the ordinance committee. It's probably good to talk about it beforehand rather than after. So if you guys, well, of course, it doesn't just have to be ordinance committee, but are there any reports from the standing committees?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today, the Ordinance Committee met in our regularly scheduled meeting on the first Tuesday of every month at 5:30 p.m. prior to the Common Council meeting. Today, we addressed changes to the transportation and the transportation ordinance for the fire department, which would assume, sorry if I fill me in, right? It would assume the people who were in custody or transported by fire department trucks to the hospital, they would then be responsible for their own medical bills and any type of expenses that are occurred, and it would not be placed upon the city. We also discussed the possibility of an update to our gratuity ordinance. There have been some
Say there have been some developments.
some major developments, and it turns out that an updated gratuity ordinance could have been a major factor. And so we look forward to changing that, along with, let's see, what was the third one? The building department. There are some outdated language in the building department ordinances that have been long overlooked, and thank you to some concerned citizens, will soon be addressed. We encourage the public to join us at our next regularly scheduled ordinance committee meeting, which would be the first Tuesday of next month, and 5:30 p.m. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Any other reports from the standing committees?
As park liaison, I would like to comment regarding the fitness activity you had spoke about earlier. There was a presentation done to all of us, and we were very excited to see and anxious to see how this goes. This is something definitely needed.
Awesome. Anybody else? Say something tough, too, if you need. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. I mean, you can always speak your mind, but, But thank you, Gita. I really appreciate it. All right. I don't believe we have unfinished business. So going on to our new business, our first one is the salary ordinance 24-18, amending 2315 V6. Councilperson Parnell, would you be able to read that for us? Oh, no. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Here you go.
Thank you very much. It's always good if you have the paper to read.
It definitely is, yeah.
Salary ordinance, budget year 2024, ordinance 24-18, amending 23-15. An ordinance establishing the amount of salaries and compensation to be paid to all appointed employees and officers of the City of Portage, Porter of the City of Portage, City of Portage, Indiana, Porter County, Indiana, for the year 2024. Be it and hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, as follows. Salary schedule as presented by Austin Bonta, Mayor, to the Common Council of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana. Section 1, that from the first pay date in January of 2024 through the last pay date in December of 2024, the pay schedule for the employee and officers of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana, be fixed as follows. Let the record reflect that the ordinance has been read in its entirety.
Thank you so much. Do you mind if I speak about this, just given the fact that I'm the one proposing this? So I mentioned that we did a lot in the last month, but there's also been a lot going on in the last 6 months. It really takes that long to put together just everything that's happened since we created an HR department in the city. Just to speak really simply, every time that I've been able to speak about anything about being mayor, people will ask me, including the mayors of Gary and the mayors of Michigan City when it came up, but so many people, they say, what's the biggest thing you've done so far as mayor? What's the thing that you're most proud of? It's the creation of a human resources department in our city. When people find out that we have over 300 employees in our city and honestly close to 400, and they ask, how is it you guys got by without HR? All I can say is that I can't speak to the past. I can only speak to what's been done in such a short time. So to add to my review of things in the last 6 months, just to go over what's happened so far. Since we've added HR and added our HR director, Lynn Graylick, she has created a drug and alcohol policy which was presented to the Board of Works and approved. We actually had an alcohol and drug testing policy that was not compliant before with the Department of Transportation. And it's really important, especially for our CLD drivers, that it is. And so we got that policy corrected. Conducted the first and second quarter random drug tests. We created the FMCSA, that's the Federal Motor Carry and Safety Administration account, purchased queries, secured consent forms for all CDL drivers, and entered them into the clearinghouse and performed the required queries. We expired the city's outdated COVID policy. And then we are in the process of updating and rewriting the city's employee handbook. Tracy might want to talk later, but I can tell you we had a lot of people asking about that handbook when we came in, and there's corrections that need to be made. We streamlined the city's major illness policy and the FMLA processes, shifting approval and responsibilities from the Board of Works and the city attorney to the HR department. To date, there have been 66 claims handled, which no longer have to go through that process with attorneys and the Board of Works. It's all handled one spot, through one office. We identified and addressed duplicate employee assistance programs, EAPs, and an unattended contract with an insurance company, which last year the city paid a total of $63,000 for a company we weren't using just because they just kept paying the bill. That was caught, it's been canceled, so we're not paying another $63,000 this year. We terminated the Lexipol contract, which would have had a $9,000 annual fee. We also identified funding through the Community Workforce Initiative for interns, part-time employees at the Park Department, and trainings. Altogether, HR has secured $36,000 in grants for our employees to compensate or to reimburse some of the salaries we've been paying out, and then $20,000 for training. Grant money has also been secured for interns and police training and CLD CLD. We have coordinated a drug and alcohol supervisor training, defensive driving training, and employment practice liability training. We formed a safety committee to address the ongoing safety issues, including meetings and training such as chainsaw training for the street and parks. Turns out you can't just hand somebody a chainsaw and expect them to use it. You do have to make sure that they're properly trained for liability purposes. We posted job openings, identified candidates, and scheduled interviews for the park director position. I'll have more to say about that later in the meeting, but we've also updated job descriptions for the parks and the building departments. Previously, those job descriptions were either outdated by years or they didn't exist at all. We got that all put together so we know who's doing what, so that if we ever lose somebody, heaven forbid, we have the ability to replace them, and the person who is applying for the job will know what job is being done. Assisted the clerk treasurer's office in finding a new person to handle payroll. We also got a recruitment video ordered for our police and fire departments and secured funds for a sponsorship rather than having to pay for it ourselves. created an EEOC account to ensure compliance with equal employment opportunity regulations, ordered labor law posters and ensured that they were posted everywhere that they're required in the city. Sounds simple, but that's like really, really important. Secured all CBAs, collective bargaining agreements, and MOU, memorandum of understanding contracts. And that was actually quite a process to get them all collected and together, and I've seen certain department heads smiling, and that's always a good sign. Secured and organized employee files, including purging outdated documents. That took some time, but it was really cool to see it happen. And we set encryption for emails containing protected health information to enhance data and security. We also, via the HR department, she conducted a SWOT analysis for HR strategic planning with James Hazard, the city's insurance vendor, potentially saving $150,000 a year in the first year. Presented HR 101 sessions on FMLA, that's the Family Medical Leave Act, and workers' compensation to educate on the process for our department heads and our departments. Just simply put, there's a lot to workman's comp, and it was exciting to see that get trained for all of our departments. On-site visits were conducted with Northwest Health to review contracts. We also moved the orientation process to the HR office for a smoother onboarding process. Visited various departments, including police, fire, streets, utilities, marina, and parks, to understand their specific HR needs. And when I say visited Countryside, I don't mean Countryside Park here in Portage. I meant that traveling to Illinois to meet with the representatives for the providers of our health insurance policy. Coordinated nationwide on-site visits to service employees' 4, 5, 7 retirement plans. And this is kind of a neat one for me, both as a former business person, and current business person, I guess, but I think of myself as a mayor now. To date, the city has not lost a single unemployment claim. That's a huge spot for us. There's a whole lot more to come, including negotiating 4 collective bargaining agreements this year before they expire in December. Completing the employee handbook, and then continuing to streamline processes for HR, especially when it comes to efficiency. We're just striving for that higher efficiency. Something that I need to make sure that I take the full blame for is that when I came in, and unfortunately this meeting's recorded, so I'm admitting a big mistake, a big misunderstanding. When I was seeking out candidates for an HR director, I mistakenly believed that we had about 260 employees in the city. It's closer to 380. And so even when I was seeking out and negotiating the price for things, I was actually, not purposely, but even I did not understand the scope of what's needed and what's going on a day-to-day basis, handling all the different employees' needs and issues that come up here. It's also worth noting that when I was initially shopping, if you will, or seeking people to handle HR, I was operating on about an idea of somewhere between $65,000 on the low end and $85,000 on the high end. And we initially were able to get it at 75. But seeing all that's been accomplished so far and where we're going, I think it's appropriate to have a raise that adequately matches the work being done, both what's already happened and what's going to happen. And it's in the budget, although I'd like to have that resolved when we do our bigger budget transfers that are coming up later in the year. Sorry, that was a lot. I know you guys actually need, but I just want to stress why I feel that this is quite important.
Motion to suspend.
I'll
Second.
second.
We have a motion to suspend and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. If I don't know how long I'm going to be mayor, but I can tell you that this is something that I am just so pleased, no matter what, guys, to any future mayors watching this video, please keep an HR department. It means the world to this city. Thank you. Up next, we have our bulk trash change. I know that that one was submitted for this meeting, but I don't know if it made it into the Dropbox. Were we able to secure a physical copy that could be read? I know information was shared with you guys. Councilman Zilli, would you be comfortable reading that for us?
Sure. Ordinance number 24-20, an ordinance repealing and replacing section 70-67 of the Portage Code of Ordinances governing bulk item trash pickup and establishing a current fee schedule. It is hereby ordained and established by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana as follows. A new ordinance, section 70-67, governing bulk item trash pickup and establishing a current fee schedule as presented by Austin Bonta, Mayor to the Common Council, of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana. Section 70-67, general specifications. A, the weekly amount of garbage to be collected from each residential dwelling unit shall be limited to the normal capacity of a city-owned tote cart with the lid fully closed unless additional authorized tote carts have been purchased as provided in Section 70-66B. All garbage except for large bulk items shall be placed in the closed standard plastic garbage bag and then placed within the city-owned tote cart with the lid fully closed. Any garbage discarded for collection that is found outside of the tote cart shall be considered bulk items. B, each owner or occupant of a residential dwelling unit that pays a monthly garbage collection fee shall be entitled to place bulk items for collection on pre-scheduled days set by the sanitation department in the calendar year. Bulk items shall include, without limitation, kitchen appliances, water heaters, washers, dryers, furniture, mattress sets, and each of the following materials cut and bundled in wrap in segments no longer than 5-foot lengths, deck wood material, wood fencing, and woodshed materials excluding asphalt or roofing shingles. In addition to the foregoing, waste debris from small household remodeling projects not requiring a building permit when the waste debris is placed in large, heavy-duty construction-type trash bags not to exceed 50 pounds each. Large bulk items placed out for collection that exceed 40 square feet in ground area, 5 feet wide by 8 feet long by 5 feet high, shall be considered excessive amounts and will result in a fee charged to the residential owner or occupant according to the current fee schedule. C, residential owners or occupants requesting collection of bulk items to be collected other than on their designated pre-scheduled days set by the sanitation department in the calendar year shall be assessed additional collection fees in accordance with the then current fee schedule. All requests for extraordinary bulk collection services shall be made through the street and sanitation department with the owner or occupant reporting their name, address, and contact number to secure these services. D, property cleanout that is placed at the street for collection will result in an additional fee charged to the owner or occupant in accordance with the then current fee schedule. E, owners or occupants who deposit refuse or garbage that exceeds the normal capacity of a tote cart, leaving the lid partially or completely open, shall be assessed an additional fee in accordance with the then current fee schedule. The fee schedule is included as written. Let the record reflect this has been read in its entirety as a first reading.
So, Randy, do you want to come up? So all that, but it is to say what's actually being changed here is that instead of having it where the first trash day of the month is your what we call amnesty day or bulk pickup day, this ordinance, if adopted, will change it so that you'll still have 12 amnesty days a year, but it will not necessarily be your first trash day of the month. This is intended to spread it out so everybody basically from the department standpoint, there'll be one amnesty day a week, roughly, with some exceptions caused by holidays. I'll let Randy get into that about why that's a good idea. But I will say that people on social media just were digging this in the most surprising way possible. I thought people were going to be neutral at best. We got this out there, explained to people what was going on, and it was kind of cool just seeing so many people react positively. But for those at home who maybe are hearing it the first time, go ahead, sir.
Well, Mayor, City Council, I always encourage our personnel in the department to come up with ideas how we could adjust the things the way we do to make them more efficient, to cut costs. The sanitation department is not operating in the black, it's in the red. So what we're trying to do is that red is shrink it. Any ideas out there, I always entertain. We had a number of changes in Trash Talking Volume 1 a few months back, and that has been great results. Just by changing the simple fact that we don't allow bulk items and trash into the department no more has saved us, it's going to save us about $100,000 in costs to the department. We believe that some of this change that we're suggesting today for a revision, just with a slight language change of being pre-scheduled throughout the month, getting away from that 1 week, because that 1 week right now is very stressful. Our city's growing. We're adding more neighborhoods onto days, and the volume of trash is growing. So as we look at this amnesty, we found that in records, and we keep track of the tonnage, last May, and I didn't, did you bring that spreadsheet, Vern? I'll let Vern talk to some of those numbers, but To take those numbers and spread them throughout the month is a lot less stressful for our employees, our department, our equipment. And I believe with these little change right here, in pre-scheduling that throughout the month instead of that first week of the month, is probably going to save our department anywhere from $40,000 to $50,000 in costs. So just with that little tweak, we're not changing anything else, no other prices or anything else like that, no other fees. We're just going to reschedule Amnesty Day throughout the month. So Mondays would be like somewhere in the first week, Tuesday would be somewhere in the second week, Wednesday would be somewhere in the third week, and then Thursday would be sometimes in the fourth week of the month. So, but just to ease that on our personnel, overtime, stress on the equipment. So, any other questions?
Would you be notifying the residents by mail of when their new Amnesty Day will be?
Yes, so we got a flyer that we're going to send out, probably a mailer, going to send it out maybe twice before October. We want to initiate this October of this year. We will be sending out calendars depicting where that Amnesty Day is, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then that'll be posted on our website. There will be a QR code for those that are very technology savvy that they could scan with their phone, and it'll take them right to that calendar. So-
Originally, if you don't mind me saying, when this idea got proposed, it was proposed, I think, really understandably as something that would take effect in 2025. But in discussion, we thought that starting it in October of this year would be better because just like when we made the changes at the beginning of this year, there was something of a grace period. So if somebody makes a mistake, we're not trying to get you and hit you hard with the mistake. We want to be able to have an opportunity to say, there'll be people, no matter what we do, that first week of October, there'll be somebody who doesn't know and they leave it out. We want to be able to have the opportunity to give that person a chance and say, hey, you know, that was a mistake, let's catch it next time. But we'd rather do it in the fall than, let's say, in January, February, March, where it might be snowing and it's just cold and a little bit easier to try to get it done at the end of this year rather than start it up in January, knowing that there's going to be some bumps no matter what we do.
Randy, my pickup is on Tuesday morning. It would slip, is that what you're saying, to another day?
No, sir. Go ahead, Randy.
I don't quite understand.
He was saying that he's on Tuesday, so he's asking when would his Amnesty Day be on a given month? Let's say October of this year.
Oh, on October this year, it would be actually October 15th. October 15th.
This is not changing your regular trash pickup every week. This is only for bulk pickup. So instead of it being that first week, each week of the month is for the different trash route days.
So to clarify that better, this has nothing to do with the totes. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but there are some people that don't know what Amnesty Day is. And Amnesty Day is just a special service within the trash policy allowing up to 40 square feet of bulk items outside the city of Portage totes to be picked up without a fee on a pre-scheduled day. That's what Amnesty Day, it just forgives the fee for those bulk items that are less than 40 square feet. And then what's changing, or the recommended change that we're asking for the council to approve is beginning the October of this year, your Amnesty Day will be rescheduled on selected days in the calendar year set by the sanitation department. That's the simple language that we're asking to be changed within the ordinance.
It won't necessarily be the same every month, be different each month?
It'll be different each month, and you'll have to look at that calendar to find out where you could place your Amnesty Day items out.
But
So-
for the most part, Randy, Monday routes will typically be the first Monday, the
Yes.
first week, that first Monday. Tuesday routes would be the second week of the month. Wednesday routes were the third week, and the Thursday routes the fourth week.
I put mine out on Monday for Tuesday morning, Monday afternoon.
Right, but-
I'm technically a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's whatever day your garbage is picked up. Yeah.
And we do have really easy-to-read calendars already made out. In fact, I got one at the entrance of the door, so if you're going to grab one at the end of the meeting, you can see how that schedule is.
So Randy, just, let's use July as an example of where you would run into problems. July 4th is a holiday. right?
Correct.
This is technically an amnesty week.
Yes.
You're not picking up garbage on July 4th, which means you're now having to pick up amnesty week stuff for July 4th, the Thursday routes, on Friday,
That is
right?
correct.
And if you get behind, because there's a bunch of it out, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you are going to be forced to pay overtime on Saturdays to potentially to have crews out to pick up more stuff on Saturday, correct?
Well, technically, we would just work Friday late.
Yep. But, I mean, it's still
To
overtime.
finish, yes.
Yeah.
But that's a great example of what we avoid by making this switch. Similarly, and Randy, I'm just guessing, let's say I was an employee and I had some time off. Does it ever happen that somebody might think to schedule their time off on amnesty week? I don't know why that might happen, but does that ever happen?
That happens quite often, so.
I don't blame anybody for that. I just think that by having it spread out that way, I think that that also allows you to have more employees available in case that there's a situation like that.
I think the biggest message here is, this is not getting rid of amnesty week. This is not getting rid of your ability to put stuff out. It is just simply saying your 1 day a month that you currently get, instead of it being in the first week, it is spread out across the month to help our department be able to better service our routes.
That's correct.
Could you read that, the 40 square feet? You read that off in your thing, what that would entail?
Yes, so the 40 square feet is defined as an area of 8 feet wide, or 8 feet long by 5 feet wide by 5 foot tall. So for example, you could put out your fence, if you take your fence down, and as long as the materials do not exceed 40 square feet, but that is, it's 40 square feet, and then it could be 10 feet long, 4 feet wide, right, Randy?
Yeah, 10
Yeah.
feet long, 4 feet wide.
Whatever, however you get to 40 square feet.
But that is the existing code already. That's not a change.
That is not changing.
And knowing how much work Amnesty Week puts on the department, maybe I should have started this by saying, if you don't know what Amnesty Week is, mute your computer for a while before we went in and talked about it. But no, just kidding. You guys, it's a good service. Feel free to use it.
I'd like to
Justice-
introduce,
Calendar. I'm
I would
sorry.
like to introduce Vern Podgorski. He's our lead man for sanitation. He's been in 20, how many years? 22 years in sanitation, so I'd like to introduce him. If you got any questions for him about volume, we'll give him.
Actually, Vern, if you could describe the volume and everything that goes into it, that would be great.
Real quick, if you grab one of these flyers, you have the calendar on the front, and everything is on the back with,
Yeah, and this
the
really does
measurements.
explain how it changes there, so. Yeah, what did you want to know?
You could talk about just the volume of trash that comes through on Amnesty Week and let's say
Sure.
from Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday if need be, just what goes on in terms of manpower and equipment usage during that week.
Okay, I have May's numbers here in front of me. So, for this past May, for the whole month, we pulled 1,749 tons of trash for the city over 18 days of service. And we're hoping with this change, we can take that number and more evenly disperse it throughout the month, because right now, take that number, just over half of that, we're doing in 4 shifts. And then the remainder of that number, we're taking over the other 3 weeks. So, yeah, the stress on the employees and the equipment is significant to accomplish that task. The overtime is daunting. So we feel if we switch it up and spread it out, that we could really alleviate some of those issues and still be able to provide the same service to the residents without having to take any of that away. Because I also live in the city and I also, enjoy those things, so.
It's a Portage tradition, and
Yeah,
it's an expensive
yeah,
one. But
it is.
Not every tradition is going to be cheap, but
Yeah.
if it's embraced and it's used, it's often worth keeping. you know?
Yeah, people are a fan of it, for sure, so. We didn't want to change anything for the service. This is really just to help alleviate the operations on our side.
Here's a question that I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask
Okay.
anyway. How many other communities have amnesty pickup weeks like this?
Like this, none that I'm aware of. There are some formats out there used in other communities, but not to this degree, not what we do.
How many other communities give you 2 totes?
I believe Hobart currently followed suit and has copied what we did when our recycling program unfortunately disbanded the way that it did. So they're the only ones I know of that do that for their solid waste. So.
I can tell you one really fun story with Hobart, is that this happened online, as so many things do these days. Someone asked the Hobart mayor if they would be willing to get, if he could institute a policy like what we have in Hobart. And he said, actually, I think Portage got rid of that. And I got to jump on and say, oh, no, we didn't. And I explained how it works. And I don't know if that's going to lead to that in Hobart, maybe not. But it's always fun to be able to show off something when people are, what's the word I'm looking for? When people are talking about a really special, thing that we got in Portage, it's always good to see.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Vern?
I have one. Did somebody say we only have one tote now?
You have 2 totes now.
Okay, I thought I heard one tonight.
There are people who sometimes use one. I mean, I myself only use one, but that's just a personal, choice. I'm trying to, but all said and done, you have the ability to have 2 without incurring an extra charge. Any other questions for Vern?
Anything?
We have some time between now and October, so if you guys are inclined to suspend the rules, you're certainly able to, but it's also good to just do a first reading. It's kind of your guys' call. I'm sorry, it's always your guys' call, sorry.
Yeah, there's no rate increase. I guess this is my second question for Randy. The sooner we implement this, the sooner you can start communicating this and answering questions. Is it going to be a problem if we don't pass this until August to be able to get this news out in less than 2 months?
No, I could still get flyers out,
Okay.
either way.
Really good question, I just want to say.
Well, we'll be able to get this on the, I assume, September bills that go out? Okay.
It'd be nicer if we could do it so we can make sure we get it on there and we can get even on there.
Just thinking too, not that I think it's the most exciting news, but if we do pass it today, we might still have time to get it on the Chamber of Commerce magazine that comes out. Not the most exciting article to read, but it would be very informative.
I'll make a motion to suspend.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And it passed.
Thank you, Council.
Nice work.
We have a first reading for the sanitary and stormwater rate increase. Victoria, would you be willing to read that?
Ordinance number 2419, an ordinance restating rates and charges for the City of Portage Municipal Stormwater and Sanitation Utilities and amending rates and charges for the City of Portage Municipal Wastewater Utility. Whereas the Sanitary Board of the City of Portage, Indiana, hereinafter the city has recommended to restate the rates and charges for the municipal stormwater and sanitation utilities and to increase the rates and charges for the municipal wastewater utility pursuant to Resolution Number 20-01, and whereas the council elects to restate the previously adopted rates and charges for the city's municipal stormwater and sanitation utilities and to amend the rates and charges for the city's municipal wastewater utility, and whereas the council has conducted a duly noticed public hearing in accordance with Indiana Code 36-9-23-26 regarding the amended wastewater rates and charges as provided herein for the purpose of hearing concerns regarding the proposed wastewater rates and charges by users of the wastewater utility, owners of property served or to be served by the same or other interested persons, and now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, Section 1, Rates and Charges. Rates and charges for the city's municipal wastewater, stormwater, and sanitation utilities are set forth in Appendix A, attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, Conflicting Ordinances. Any ordinance or provision of any ordinance of the City of Portage in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance is hereby repealed. Section 3, Severability. The invalidity of any section, clause, sentence, or provision of this ordinance shall not affect the validity of any other part of this ordinance which can be given effect without such invalid parts or parts. Section 4, effective date. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect after its passage, approval by the mayor of the city or Portage, approval by the mayor of the city or Portage, and publication as required by law. Appendix A sets forth effective dates for the amended and restated rates and charges. Phase 1 shall become effective for billings after September 1st, 2024, or as soon as practical by the Portage Utility Billing Department. Phase 2 shall be effective for billings after January 1st, 2025. Phase 3 shall be effective for billings after January 1st, 2026. And Phase 4 shall be effective for billings after January 1st, 2027. Passed and adopted by the City Council of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana, on the 6th day of August, 2024. There's also a schedule of rates and charges attached of Appendix 8. Let the ordinance be read in its entirety.
Thank you. And this is the first reading. We'll have to have the public hearing at our August 6th meeting, so I'm not sure if there's anything else to say from there. That's it. All right. We will go over to our reports from Public Safety. Chief Candiano, would you like to go first?
Good evening. How is everybody?
Good.
Yay. Such enthusiasm. All right, so our total incidents for last month were 2,920. That puts us at about 97 per day on average. We're at 18,368 for the year to date. So compared to last year, pretty much the same, off just a couple hundred here and there, but our arrests are up 19% over last year. So I had a request. There was a citizen that reached out and wanted to know if we were able to break down the types of calls that we go to. So the answer to that is yes and no. This is the sheet that shows all the different types of calls we're dispatched to. There's 130 of them. So that being said, with the system that we run right now, or that the dispatch center runs, it is very, very tough to break that down. You have to actually go through and punch in each of these codes and then count them. I did run a couple of quick numbers, but that's why it is difficult to say exactly all the different things. And then some of it is dependent on how they put it in. So they could put in something as a suspicious incident, which then turns into a pursuit or something else. It's going to be in there as a suspicious incident, but then obviously it turns into something else, maybe a drug charge, maybe resisting, maybe something else. So I did have a couple numbers real quick, though. We responded to 187 disturbances, 52 thefts, 35 threats. We had over 350 traffic stops, 41 reckless driving and DUI calls, 106 motor vehicle crashes. We assisted the fire department 75 times, over 300 calls for suspicious people, and over 150 well-being checks. So, and like I said, there's 130 different ones. That's just a couple of them right there. So we go from everything to a cat in a tree, which then we'll probably call the fire department to come help us out. But we'll go from that to more serious things. It's the things that people call for run pretty much. If you can imagine it, we've probably been called to it, and we generally go to all of those with different outcomes. So hopefully if we get on a different system through the dispatch center, we'll be able to break that down a little bit more. It's not an issue of transparency, but just this, what I came up with today, took me about an hour. So it's just a little difficult to get some of that information together for people. So, but if people have questions on specific things like burglaries, robberies, things like that, we can look those up individually. So. As far as our hiring and staffing, we currently have 7 openings. Again, we're always taking applications. If you know anybody's interested, have them come by and get an app.
Somebody I saw in one of those groups who posted anonymously that somebody wants to become a police officer. How do they do it? And I almost went and said, I hope he's not applying to be a detective. But instead, somebody else directed them to go to the police station. I don't know if you guys actually got anybody today from that, but I did find
I'm not sure, but I'll check. We do have a lot of people who have interest in how we do our job, but they don't usually ever show up to actually pick up an application. So. And while we're poking fun, I will say we have a friend on social media who believes that we drink a lot of coffee and eat a lot of donuts and don't go to calls. But We went to 2,920 of them last month, so, no, there's. I didn't say. No, we have a frequent friend on Facebook. All right, getting back on track. So we do have 7 openings. We have 2 officers that are in field training right now, and we do have an officer that's on workman's comp. Unfortunately, he had sustained a pretty serious injury from a suspect who attacked him, so we are running a little short right now. We did purchase a golf cart to assist us in getting around the festivals and other city events. We used it last week at the market. I think it's going to be pretty useful for us. We've actually had it out on bike patrol a couple times now, too. We've also got the ATVs and the golf carts, the bikes that we'll continue to use, but the golf cart's kind of nice because, say we're doing bike patrol and we encounter somebody that's injured, and we can actually give them a ride rather than on an ATV or a bike. It's also got the ability to carry more stuff on there, first aid, waters, things like that. So we plan to get a lot of use out of it. We'll have it down at the 4th of July festival. So, and we actually have stickers on it now. Somebody was concerned that it was
Be an
not gonna look
undercover
like
one, yeah.
Yeah, it's clearly a police-owned vehicle now. So. Excited that we had some K-9 officers graduate from training. Our new K-9s are Thor, Cora, Avery, and Axel. Probably start seeing them out at some of the city events in the coming months, so we're excited to have them back. We also had some promotions. We promoted Kurt Biggs to captain. He's now the detective commander, and I'll get to that in a second, why that occurred. We also promoted Eric Getz to lieutenant, Ben Toby to sergeant, Tony Ortiz to corporal, Tony Bowling to corporal, and Alex Lecty to corporal. So as we've been talking, we've had so many retirements and everybody that's retiring has been here a long time, has seniority, has rank, and as those retirements are coming, then we're having to backfill with these promotions. So that being said, last month, after 31 years of service, Captain Joe Reynolds retired. Captain Reynolds was the commander of the Detective Bureau, so Captain Biggs is now taking over his spot. Joe Reynolds had been up there a long time, so big shoes to fill, but we think Kurt will do adequate. I mean, great. Just messing with it. So we also had, after 35 years, Lieutenant Joe Mokel retired. So like I've been saying, the amount of years that we've lost, there's 66 years of service right there between 2 people. It's a lot of experience. It's a lot of leadership that we lost. Happy for them that they're able to retire and move on with the next step, but it's a tough blow to our department and to the city. But I just want to thank them for all that they've done. So 4th of July, just ahead of time, just want to say there is a ton of work that goes into this planning. Through many city departments, many city officials. I'm excited. I think we got a good plan. But it is a huge event. I ran some numbers. I sent some of this information out to a few. I think we logged somewhere around 550 calls for service over the holiday weekend or those couple of days in and around the holiday last year. So I assume that we're going to be pretty busy this year. We've got officers that'll be out for the parade. We'll be blocking the road. Obviously, if you're needing to travel anywhere that the parade route is, you're not going to be able to get through. So between the times of the parade, our reserves are going to be out there assisting us. Just want to throw them some kudos because again, they volunteer. For the festival that night, we've got a bunch of officers assigned to be down there. I think we estimated we had about 8,000 people last year. It's a lot of people in one area, so we plan to have a decent amount of officers out. And we will have our reserves out assisting with getting people across the street. That's always a concern because people park to the south of the park and need to cross Central, so we will have extra officers out for that. Last 2 things I got is this month was a little bit of a tough one for some of our officers. We had some serious calls, some pretty intense stuff that they dealt with. This stuff takes a toll on us, or on the officers, far after the time they go home on their shift. So I just want to thank everybody for the continued support. I feel like we feel very supported by the city and the citizens, not only you all, but the citizens. You may never know how much it means to an individual officer to hear that appreciation, but like I said, there's been some stuff that, that they've been taking home lately, and just knowing that we've got the support is very, very, very much appreciated. So I want to thank you for that. And then lastly, I want to commend some officers on their work on a homicide from February 2023, which led to the recent conviction of Richard Cooley for murder. Throughout this investigation, our Patrol Division, Detective Bureau, and Crime Scene Unit put together a great case which led to the conviction. Kurt, come up here. I'm calling you on the spot. He didn't know this was going to happen, so that's why I made fun of him earlier. So now Detective Captain Kurt Biggs here was ultimately in trial for six days on this. So again, large team effort, but he kind of took this thing and carried it across the line. So as you can imagine, a case like this takes a ton of hours, investigation, not only to make that arrest, but then all the follow-up after that, to have all the information ready for the trial. And then there's all the things that come with the trial that you've got to be prepared for. So I don't know how many hours he was on the stand. I know it was a lot. But I just want to thank him and all the officers for what they did. It's a very tragic incident, but I'm glad between our officers and the prosecutor's office that we were able to bring this person to justice. And he happened to show up here today, so I'm going to put him on the spot and thank him for that. So thanks, Kurt. That's all I got. You guys got any questions?
Chief, I have a question.
Sure.
So now that we have the new signs in Founder Square for roller skates and bikes and that kind of travel, has there been any decrease in activity, that the reason we put the signs up in the first place now? And what happens if you do find travelers on bikes and skateboards and such? What happens to them when you find them?
So I think there has been some decrease. We haven't had as many issues as we had in the beginning. But it's been a kind of a multi-pronged plan. We've got more officers out there visible. We came up with some ideas for the playground area. The signs are up. There is less bike traffic through there, and I think that actually some of the vendors and other city officials are doing just as good job of policing the bikes as we are. So. I would actually like to talk more about an ordinance to go with that, with the bikes, but that's probably something that we can bring up later as far as what we would do with those. The best thing is just, I would hope that anybody listening, or you've got kids that are listening, it's just use your common sense, and if there's hundreds of people in an area, a bike going through is not the best idea. Bringing projectiles, not the best idea. These types of things are not, that's not the place for it. So each incident that occurs is different, and we'll handle it differently. It's kind of hard to put a rubber stamp on exactly how we'll deal with each issue, but I would like to talk further about getting a couple other things in place, but I think we've got a good plan. I think that things have been really successful over the last couple events. I think the first one caught us all a little by surprise. For how successful it is, which is a great problem. The more people that are coming, that's great, and so you adapt to that, which is why we're planning on having a whole bunch of people down there on the 4th. As if the market shows anything as to what how the people are coming out in the city, I expect a large crowd. So we're going to try to make sure we're prepared for that. So. Like I said, we can talk further about maybe an idea on an ordinance. I know we've been kind of kicking some of that around.
I can tell you that a sign is never going to stop everything, but it definitely helps, because there really are, not normally the kids, but often enough the parents who say, well, how were they supposed to know not to do that? And unfortunately, a sign is just one way to say, I'm pretty sure that they could see that. But as the chief said, it's really the increased police presence, which people feel. It's doing things. I know we had a lot of questions about the fence when it went up around the playground, and I've clarified this before. That's going to come down after the 4th, and then it'll start being set up on market days, and it'll come down when the market is over, because what we found is that controls the traffic flow a little bit better. And quite frankly, if you are a grandparent or a parent who's looking to play with your kids, you don't mind there being a fence with 2 ways in and out. But if you're just kind of trying to stand around somewhere, it feels a little weird being in a place with like a big fence. So we're working on that. I will tell one story that I love because I love all our police stories. I also will tell you that nothing was more fun than being there when that golf cart came in, and it was during the shift change, so everyone's coming. I don't care what you do for a living. If you're between the age of 16 all the way up to 60, everybody becomes a 6-year-old when a golf cart, comes into a place and it's brand new. But what I'm actually getting to is there was a kid who, despite signs, despite some police, he did like a wheelie through a part of the market, and I'm like, whoa! And I'm kind of dressed like this with the logo, and I kind of run up and I find him and say, hey, you really can't do that. That's not safe. And he said, well, who are you? And I said, I'm the mayor. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, and it's not that he was like, felt like he was in trouble. He didn't expect that. And so I said, seriously, you could ride literally like over there. It's just here where the crowd is. And he listened. A lot of times it's really a tap on the shoulder more than anything strong or seemingly strong you can do,
Yeah, I think the signs are kind of like a speed limit sign. But hang on, hear me out. The first thing to slow people down is the speed limit sign, all right? If there's nothing there, you go as fast as you want, right? But then maybe if you never see the police there or some official, then maybe you start to ignore the speed limit sign. So I kind of see it as that, without the sign, there is no speed limit. And then sometimes you got to have the police or a city official or somebody from the park, somebody around to then, point to the sign and maybe have a conversation with them. So similar to a traffic stop. So
Just like you put in speed bumps, sometimes you might put in like a fence somewhere. There's just some things
Yep.
you do to create the right environment.
100%.
Chief, thank you for the work you put in on the breakdown.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
Just quickly, what happened to Ross Haynes? How's he doing?
He's living life from what I've seen. I've seen a couple
Retired,
pictures of him recently. Yeah, he's retired. He's moved out of the state and still working. Seems like he's enjoying himself.
Only reason I asked, he lived on my street.
Okay.
We got to be kind of friends. So I lost track of him.
Yep.
Quite an individual.
Very cool. Anybody else with the chief on our side? Feel free to head on down, and maybe
All right.
Fire Chief Crail, you mind coming up? Something I should say, and I know, and you have done nothing wrong, sir, but technically, according to the rules, I'm not supposed to let people speak, until like we open up for the remonstrances and the public, input at the end. Please don't worry. Like there's no actual like law that they're going to come in and enforce. Like the state troopers won't show up, but we're not going to, but just but just so you know, there's nothing wrong with the questions. We appreciate it. Thank you. Chief Crail, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you all? I guess first and foremost, I should probably apologize to Chief Candiano that he finally figured out who's been commenting about them eating donuts and not going on calls. So my apologies, Chief. Not really.
Now I know you're right.
For the month of June, we ran 507 calls, roughly the same number as we ran in May, which still is a significant increase from last year. Fortunately, but unfortunately, I can't break down the categories tonight like I normally do, because on the plus side of that, we have started our new software yesterday. Yeah, very good. At midnight on July 1st, our old reporting software quit working, and we can't access it. So we were able to download all the data and information, but I just didn't have it at my fingertips like we normally do. So, but yes, the good news is our new software and reporting stuff is up and running. Personnel, we don't have any retirements or promotions to talk about this month. I will have some next month for you, so bear with me. I'll apologize in advance. We do have the 3 personnel that are still involved in our perf physicals or our pension physicals. We're still awaiting documentation from all of that. As soon as we get the documentation from that, we will be full staff, so I am still happy to announce that we still have a good list, and every time we have a retirement, we have someone to fill it, so that is good. All of our apparatus is in service. We do have an issue with our aging tower. As I've noted before, it's 27, 28 years old. In our training this last month, we took it out for ladder and aerial operations. We did find a leak in the waterway. At this point, we don't know how much that's going to be or how much that will cost to fix, or if at this point it's even worth fixing. So that's something that we will have to look at as our administration and your administration to figure that out, because that is approximately a $1.6 million investment to get a new aerial truck. So some food for thought. I am happy to announce that we did submit our application for the port security grant through the federal government. It does have a process that starts with the local Coast Guard to see if we are feasible for that. We have really established a really good relationship with the local Coast Guard in Michigan City, so there were no issues there. We were also able to attend, which I talk about in the community involvement. Well, we went to the Coast Guard in Michigan City change of orders, which was a very neat ceremony for us to be able to attend. We were recognized at that ceremony. But that relationship with the Coast Guard, there is a very high likelihood that we are going to get this port security grant, which will help update our boat, which is desperately needed. Speaking of training this month, so they did, as I stated, on the fire side of things, they did ladder and aerial operations this month. It's important for us. I mean, our tower ladder is 100 feet long, and our quint is 70 feet long. So it's important for us to know exactly where the tips of those ladders operate, where they go, and the play that 100 feet out, there's a lot of swing and play that's in that ladder, so it's important for us to train on that. So that is something that they did this month. On the EMS side of the house, we worked on some pediatrics. Pediatrics are a small percentage of the calls that we go on, so when we actually, this month, we were fortunate enough to have Joe and Melissa Siegel lent us their twin daughters, and so we were able to use them as real pediatric patients. And you can imagine 4-year-old little girls that don't know any of us. They were very scared, which is very realistic. So it was good training for all the crews to experience that. Also this month, every year there is, through the International Association of Fire Chiefs, there's a safety stand-down week. The middle of the month this month, we celebrated the safety stand-down week. The theme for this year was fire training back to basics, so it was a good opportunity for our firefighters to really take it back down to basics and understand the importance of training, why we do it, and to understand that even though there's so many advanced techniques out there, if you don't know the basics, the advanced techniques don't matter. Our dive team was able to train with the Coast Guard this month. With that relationship that we established, it's nice that the Coast Guard is willing to fly their helicopter in to the area for us every month for the rest of the summer. So if you happen to be up at the Portage Lakefront Park around July 22nd, you will see our dive boat and the United States Coast Guard helicopter performing some operations together. The SWAT team, the SWAT medics worked with the Portage Police Department, drinking coffee and eating donuts. I'm kidding. They worked on clearing houses for multiple entrances. It's important for our SWAT guys to be able to work with them. I mean, the work that their SWAT team does is very special. We're one of the few municipalities that have our own SWAT team, and for us to have SWAT medics that can work with them and learn the things that they do, I think that really enhances our relationship, and it makes the cohesiveness between the departments great. Community involvement, we were able to help out a little bit with the Portage High School graduation. We did the Relay for Life for Porter County. Not sure if any of you knew, but I was able to go to the Rittenhouse fundraiser and sit in the dunk tank successfully for an hour. Got
Thanks for
dunked a
filling
few
in for me,
times.
Chief. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it was not a problem at all. Thank goodness it was warm and I was prepared with a wetsuit, so I cheated a little bit. And as I stated, that we went to the United States Coast Guard change of orders, which is definitely an amazing scenario. So what happened, so you're all aware, the officer in charge at the Michigan City Station has risen up through the ranks, and so he was promoted to a position in Corpus Christi, Texas, where he will be in charge of programs administration down in Corpus Christi, Texas. So he went down, there was a new officer in charge promoted to that position, so we were able to partake in those festivities. And then as Mayor Bonta had noted, Friday night, we were able to participate in the Indiana Department of Homeland Security District 1 Fire Academy, which was good for us. It put us, got our guys through the Fire Academy, which is a requirement, and so now they'll be able to get back on the street and start functioning. In lieu of an accolade tonight, I ask that each of you hold Brian Anderson and their family in your thoughts and prayers as Brian's wife, Lindsay, lost her battle with metastatic breast cancer on Monday, June 24th. Brian has all of us that are going to help hold him up and support him, but I ask that all of you keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and it's good for him to know that the city also is there behind him and holding him up as well. So, do any of you have any questions for me? Very good. Have a good night.
Thank you, Chief. I know that we joke about a rivalry between our police department and our fire department, but I can tell you for a number of reasons, I don't think our public safety teams have ever been more united. And to speak just something about the SWAT, because really, it's pretty special that we have our own SWAT team in the city. It's a big part of what makes Portage so safe. And if anybody's watching this, maybe who knows more than I do, I'm not familiar with any other city that has firefighters on the SWAT team. And I can tell you that there are some young kids growing up right now who can't decide if they want to be a firefighter or if they put on that toy SWAT gear and they want to do that one day. And it's like, there's a way to do both. And it's called Portage, Indiana.
The fire department is much better.
But what I will tell you guys, just thank you for your teamwork. It's been incredible these past 6 months, and I'm sure it's going to continue to be. I'm now going to open the opportunity for public comments. If you'd like to come up and speak at the podium, you're welcome to for about 2 minutes. Actually, exactly 2 minutes. I will have a timer, but if I say about, that probably opens me up to people saying he gave that person 2 or more seconds, more or less.
I just have a question. Where would I have to go to see a copy of ordinance 2024?
You can speak to our, city attorney if you'd really like, but really the best way is to go into the Google or your preferred search engine, and you can find our whole city code at the Municode.
No, this is the ordinance that's being proposed now.
I'm so sorry. I'm just thinking like you're asking about a specific ordinance that
No.
we have. We can get you a copy here tonight after this meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for my confusion.
No, I probably didn't make it real clear.
I'm sure I wasn't paying enough attention. I'm sorry.
2024, about the bulk pickup. Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Oh, yes, sir. Come on up.
Maybe you think I've been a little bit of a nuisance, but I just.
Not
had
at
a couple
all. Not at
questions.
all.
One in particular I'd like to ask about, maybe directed to our first district, is I live on the west side of Portage, over by Fagley School, on Randolph, a dead-end street. There's a house on the corner of Stone and County Line. What's being done about that?
I can tell you-
That's an absolute atrocious eyesore.
Yeah,
It's
so-
being grown over by trees now.
So
Who's mowing it?
So I can tell you, that is, so as mentioned earlier, I'm doing the politician thing, sorry, as mentioned earlier, but we had it where that was one of the houses we looked at when we were exploring, the issues of abandoned homes. There's a history to that house that I'm happy to discuss with our police chief, just as far as kind of what went on and how it got to the spot that it is. What I can tell you is two things. From a code enforcement angle, we are going to do what we can to get that under control. From a long-term angle, that was one of the houses where I'm like, can we condemn it? Can we tear it down? Can we do our thing as a city? It actually was purchased at a tax sale, and the person is either probably planning on tearing it down or renovating it. I can't speak to what they intend to do, but they won't have the proof of ownership until October. So we're waiting on October for the whole property to be taken care of. But from now to then, we are working on what we can do from a code enforcement end to get somebody taking care of that house. Like I say, there's some details I'd rather not say. Again, I'm comfortable saying publicly, but just maybe not in this context, but I'm happy to talk to you with our police chief after.
It's important to, some of us people live over in that area.
Oh, absolutely. I also live on the west side, and I drive on County Line quite a bit.
Yeah.
So believe me, we take it very seriously, along with many other, let's call them problematic properties in the city. We're actively working on getting them taken care of.
One more question, and I'll
Oh,
get out of
take your
hair.
time. There's certainly nothing to, yeah.
I've had some dealings with code enforcement on my own volition about some property behind me. And I was told that possibly that the code enforcement is split up between two places, the one at the police station and at your office. Is that true?
So not my office, but they might have just meant City Hall. So when I came in as mayor, and just to give you some backstory, so for years, and it's not that any one person's right, there's pros and cons to both arguments. There's always been historically this debate of should code enforcement be in the police department or should it be in the building department? And over the years, that's kind of gone a little bit back and forth. The police department kind of won, not that they were exactly, Chief, would you say you were competing with building department?
No, I think we just ended up with them.
So all said and done, when I came in as mayor, I wanted to address this because we felt that there was a need to make sure the building department, we wanted to consider getting it with building department. And it was actually my third day as mayor is when we had our first department head meeting. And before the meeting, and I'll never forget it because our assistant chief, our chief, the whole police administration came down and met with me separately before the meeting. I don't think this is a secret thing I'm disclosing. And they said, Mayor, before we go into the whole meeting, we have an idea. And what they proposed was the idea that a code enforcement officer, that's not its own department, that's an officer, a type of officer. So we had out of the two code enforcement officers, one of them stayed with the police department, the other moved back to the building department. They actually still had his desk from when he was in the building department years before. So now when you call for code enforcement, it goes to the police station, but depending on what you're calling about, they'll either give it to the person right there or they'll forward it to the building department. So we have two code enforcement officers, but we actually have three departments with a we have, I guess what you think of as code enforcement, we have two. We kind of have three. Tracy, I don't know if it's accurate to say, but you also have is what you do considered code enforcement as well, legally speaking?
Well, as far as pretreatment, that's with industries and that kind of thing.
I don't know if that's
We do have an inspector.
The inspector is a little different.
Yes, so
So-
we do have an inspector.
So then I can accurately say, in the city, we have two full-time code enforcement people, but one is employed with police, and then one is employed with building. But we share a line of communication via that phone.
I've been dealing with a lady named Carla.
That would be the one who works in the police
Police
station.
department, okay.
Not to say that your matter is a police matter, but that's
No,
to
no,
say where
I
she's stationed. Again, we're actually, for both counts, I'm happy to talk to you with our police after this meeting.
She's been to my house, and she's very nice.
She's a wonderful person, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Not hearing any. I'll close the public portion of the meeting. Is there any other business to come before this body? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.